So apparently, guys, we have some breaking insane news that New California State and New Nevada have just been created, and they are supporting Donald Trump and the Republican Party effort to intervene in the elections within states like Georgia and Michigan and others. That supposedly these two new states, one, exist, and they agree with 17 or so other states and over half of the Republicans in the House of Representatives that want to bring Donald Trump's effort to the Supreme Court. And so what you saw earlier today, and I'm going to read you some reporting, is that a lawyer from Nevada basically filed one of these lawsuits, creating these two new states, and in the process joining Donald Trump's lawsuit. So it notes here, two quote-unquote states that do not actually exist on Friday filed a brief with the United States Supreme Court in support of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's lawsuit. As flagged by University of Texas School of Law professor Stephen Vladek on Twitter, a lawyer named Robert E. Thomas, who claims to be the attorney for New California State and for New Nevada, filed an amicus brief on behalf of two fictitious states. And so he's doing this to basically join the amicus briefs of all the other states, the ones that actually exist, like Texas and many others, to say, actually, New California and New Nevada, we support states like Texas as well. And they note here in their typo-ridden explanation that part of the reason for the new formation of New California State and New Nevada State, they can't even spell state right, guys, is to stop the lawless actions of Governors Newsom, also spelt incorrectly, and Sisolak. An opinion by this court affirming a national uniform rule of law, reestablishing the supremacy of the Electors Clause of Article 2, Section 1 of the United States Constitution, will resolve some of the complaints causing the establishment of these two new states. So basically, this person is a crazy person. It's a Trump supporter who feels that for whatever reason, his particular states, maybe it's because they voted Democrat, have been practicing some kind of unconstitutional action, and that gives him the right, basically unilaterally, to create two new states, to carve off part of California and Nevada, to create a couple new states, and therefore join the lawsuits of many red states like Texas to try and intervene and basically overrule the rights and franchise of voters in states like Georgia and many others. It's just absolutely crazy, guys. And look, we can laugh at this, and I am going to laugh at this because it's absolute madness, but let's be real. Let's be 100% real. This really isn't funny. Like, it's funny in like a moment to moment, look at all the insane things Donald Trump is saying and doing, what Republicans are saying and doing, what their supporters are saying and doing. Like, yeah, like, let's laugh at that. Let's laugh at how all these Republicans that pretended to stand up to Trump, like Rubio and Cruz, are now falling into line like absolute cowards. Let's laugh at them. But let's also be real that this is confirming that the Republican Party, if not in its entirety, in its majority, hates democracy. There's no doubt anymore. You kind of already knew it before, given how much they love gerrymandering. You know, David Frum, a conservative that I don't normally agree with, was very correct in saying Republicans are now realizing that, you know, they can't win democratic elections most of the time. So they're not going to abandon their ideology. They're going to abandon democracy. Their ideology will stay. They will just use undemocratic means to achieve the seats they need and the power they need to implement and protect their ideology. But now this has gone to a whole new level. Again, this might have started with a few weirdos and Donald Trump himself, but again, over half of the Republicans currently in the House, like there's almost 200 of them and over 100 of them are backing this. And more than a dozen states right now, almost 40% of the states right now are backing this. This really is an attack on American democracy, unlike there's been since like Jim Crow, when, you know, African Americans were systematically denied the right to vote and things like that. In modern American history, there's not been this attack on democracy. It's absolutely maddening. It really is. And like, we can point to these people and say they're just a bunch of kooks, but these kooks control one of the two parties in a two-party system. And fundamental questions need to be asked, because the next time they do get power, they may not allow people to take it away from them anymore. And I really do think Americans need to start asking themselves, can they support the Republican Party? And you have to be asking yourselves even that, like, you know, let's say you have a Republican representative or a senator that isn't backing this, like someone like Mitt Romney or Lisa Murkowski, or a more moderate, say, a Republican governor in a state like Vermont or Massachusetts that have kind of been critical of these legal challenges. You still have to ask those people. Like, at what point can you be a Republican, you know, and still support democracy? Because from my perspective right now, given that a majority of Republican big names seem to be backing this, if you are a Republican right now, you are an enemy of democracy.